From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work, we will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you. God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims. Well, good morning. Happy Manic Monday to all the people out there ridiculously early here on TikTok. I'm Bullhorn Betty, and I cover true crime, and I've been covering the case of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers is a 15-year-old autistic boy that disappeared from inside his locked home with only his mother and has not been seen or heard from by a third party since February 25th, which was the Sunday before at around 6:30 p.m. Many of us have watched this case unfold. There are things that just don't sit right with us. And there's been a lot of changes that have happened, such as the FBI bringing forward a $50,000 reward, Dog the Bounty Hunter and his team stepping into this case and really providing a lot of resources, legal resources, investigative resources, investigators, and a whole bunch of stuff trying to locate where Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers is. Oh, thank you, Slick Olson. I hope you're having a great day. And there was a lot of things that are going on in this case. And Seth Rogers is Sebastian's biological father and had kind of a candid interview on his channel on YouTube about his son and about the morning that he found out his son was missing. It is definitely something that I would recommend everybody that's been following this case to please go over to Seth's YouTube page and watch that interview. I did break it down on Saturday. I think it was early in the morning. It was a 4-hour live. I don't usually do 4-hour lives on YouTube. I only keep them down to about an hour. But this was a little different because I didn't want to break it up, and it had it had great information in it that morning, and a little eye-opening at that. So I recommend everybody going over there. Now, we just recently had Dog the Bounty Hunter in the state of Tennessee, and he was doing intel and other work there, right along with some paid private investigators. And those are licensed private investigators. Those licensed private investigators were sitting on a hotel, and there was a kid that was matching Sebastian's description staying at the hotel, and some weird behaviors going on that had them call Sumner County. Sumner County did go there and knock the door. It was not Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, but that just shows you how active Dog the Bounty Hunter, as well as At Night Intelligence Agency and Nick the Hat, are working these leads. So if you have any information that might bring this boy home, please reach out to 833-TELL-DOG. There's also another little clip that I'm going to throw up here. I'm going to try to read it. Now, this right here is about an RSO that has been let out, is slapped on the wrist, violating his parole and everything else like that. And I thought this was pretty interesting. But it says this man, hold on, it's not going to let me move it. Hold on, I'm going to end up having to find it. I can't read it. Let me see if I can read it with my glasses. Maybe I'll be able to read it a little bit better with my glasses. It says, I have been, and it's right up in the stuff, but it says this man who committed his first SO in 1992 against a young girl moved on to dogs, taking pictures of children at local Strawberry Patch, Bottom View Farm, circling Nanny Berry Elementary on his bike, which violates his parole, and has recently been caught essaying a horse at Chestnut Farm. Sumner County continues to catch and release these vile individuals. The same group of judges granting PO and ROs against Bullhorn Betty. You do the math. So they're letting these violent offenders that will do harm to children out on the street in Sumner County, but playing politics when it comes to me and my commentary here on these streets. Now, another hate channel on YouTube has been trying to find ways to stop people. She obviously does whatever she wants and collects whatever she wants. She never gives back to these communities. One thing that this channel has always done is we give back in a variety of ways. We don't charge any families anything. We're out there searching for them. We're providing them flyers. We're providing them shirts. We do for the Bullhorn Betty channel, and the partners that we have on the Bullhorn Betty channel really do a lot for these families when they have missing people, as opposed to a lot of other people that commentate on it. We provide actual resources to these families that are going to help them and aid them and take something off of their plate as they're going through the most difficult time of their life, trying to find their loved one. Or in some cases, their loved one is already gone and they need support. They need information. They need ground searches still to search for their missing person that they know is not coming home. There's a lot of cases that we've covered over the years, and the support that me and my channel provide these families are a lot. We try to keep the victim and the victim's family front and center. And then we have idiot content creators that don't even know how to read the law or how it applies, because they're bringing up stuff about no organization shall solicit contributions for preparing material. Okay, we cover cases. Most people on these platforms cover cases. They're not asking for contributions to distribute material. Let's face it, the most that we do is design flyers and get those flyers out to families that need them. These have nothing to do with the government themselves. We don't get involved in the government Amber Alerts and designing stuff like that. So this, if you break it down with the elements, yet again, another person that's not educated in the law, that doesn't even know how to interpret this, is trying to provide her audience legal advice, and anything that she is saying is inaccurate. I've looked at this morning. I looked at the elements this morning, and quite frankly, I don't see anybody on these platforms doing this, whether they're a hate channel or a true crime channel. I really don't see anybody violating this law, but this Yahoo that doesn't have a smart bone in their brain is passing around yet again misinformation and disinformation to intimidate people that are trying to help find a missing 15-year-old boy. Now, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, he's autistic and medically needy, has never left the house and has never been without a parent, ever. And we're supposed to believe that this child walked out of the house when there's no evidence this child ever left their home. We're supposed to believe that this child walked out in cold weather without shoes, socks, or a jacket on. We're meant to believe that this child that's 15 years old walked out of the house to never return, to run away from home without taking one single item with him. Now, I don't know about you, but most of us have had children that have run away, or we've been a child that has run away from our own home. And I don't recall any of us leaving without a stitch, without one item. As a matter of fact, when I left, I grabbed my cell phone, my beeper, my clothes, my favorite shoes. I dumped out my books from my backpack to make sure all my stuff could fit in my backpack. But we are made to believe that this child just walked out of the home, and then law enforcement started passing around bunk information about the lights video stating that it was a trash truck. Now, we have many people out in the community that have watched this video, that know this video, and absolutely attest that there's two separate circumstances, that this is not a trash truck, that the trash truck comes in that community clearly almost 2 hours after this light phenomenon or event happened on the outside of this young boy's home, shortly, a few hours before he was reported missing. We also have some information that the step-grandmother was over at Worsham's General Store. We have up to 7 different witnesses that have pinned her at that store in her QX80, her Infiniti QX80, sitting on the side of the road as early as 5:30 in the morning, some hour before this child was legit reported missing to law enforcement. Now, another thing that we have learned is on Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers' case is that Seth, the biological father, was called some 11 minutes before this child was reported missing to law enforcement. That is a mind blower, because we have heard from the mother and the stepfather over and over again that at 6 a.m. she walks into the child's room, Sebastian's room. Sebastian wasn't there. She looks around the house for about 3 minutes. She picks up the phone and calls her husband, which is over in Memphis, Tennessee, allegedly at his job. Well, he didn't start his job until 6:30 that morning. So he was going up the crane about the time he was calling this into law enforcement to report this child missing. He had to be up at the top of that crane at 7 a.m. But the mother, during all of this, calls Chris, and then Chris states that he immediately called law enforcement. But that's not true. As a matter of fact, they stay on the phone for some 33 minutes or 30 minutes before they ever even call the dispatch line, the non-emergency Sumner County line, because we know they didn't call 911. But what we did not know in this case is that they actually call Seth before they call 911. Almost 11 minutes before they call 911. Seth has their call to him registered at 6:22 in the morning. A text message and a phone call. That to me is mind-blowing. That to me is mind-blowing. When did they have time? And was the mom still on three-way at the time that this call to the father happened? Because allegedly she was on the phone the entire time. And I want to ask everybody, if this mother was so hysterical that she could not even speak to law enforcement, why was she calm as a cucumber when everybody was at the house and no hysterics at all? But yet she was so hysterical she couldn't even speak to law enforcement when her husband called the non-emergency line on three-way. A lot of people, there's a lot of questions that can't be answered. Sorry, my comments were stuck, so I'm going to go through the comments and see if there's anybody in here with this. Let's see what we got here. I believe the same thing too. Nice to see you, by the way. Thank you for being here. For all the people that are here, thank you for being here. I'm wondering if the neighbor have any cameras that see... Oh, the cameras. Whoa. Let's look at that. Y'all, somebody sent this. Do you see this thing right up here? I know it's between all the stuff at the top, right here. This is off some information. Right here. There was possibly a camera. I'm sending this over. We're doing some investigation on this right now, going through some public records. And it does appear that we might have something right here. that was pointed out by another content creator. So I would, I'm going to go back to Zillow and see if I can find this because, I always worry when I don't know where the photo came from. I always worry about people manufacturing information, okay? It happens, especially with photos and it being blurry. Anybody can do just about anything with a photo. So I have to go to legitimate sources and corroborate this. I just got this yesterday and I have not done that. But talking about cameras, there is a possibility because this right here surely looks like it's something. I don't know what that something is, but it definitely looks like like something. And so we're still working this. We're still trying to find as much as we can, through the use of public records and other things. But from what we know, let me answer this question for you, though, Seattle. I'm wondering if their neighbors have any cameras that see either of their cars leave in the night. The answer is no. According to Miss Bobby, which is a neighbor that lives in that area, the only car that showed up before law enforcement were called was the one unknown vehicle. Let me see if I can find it. I might still have it. It might take me a little to get to it because it's probably way back in my photo. Let me see if I can pull this up and make it a little bit. But it was that one unknown car, the unknown car. And I don't even know if I have this, if this will even, there it is. The unknown car. Now this has the overlay on it and you can see the QX80. Let me see if I can find the one that doesn't have anything. There it is. So here's the unknown car. As you can see, it looks like the back of a hatch of an SUV right here. We did an overlay with the QX80 because that was at Warsham's at 5:30 in the morning. Seems a little odd. So we did the overlay. And there it is. And it kind of fits right in like a glove. Even this little lone dot right down here, this lone reflection. And that's because a QX80 has a decorative indentation in their bumper. And this one little light, a lone little light, let me show you again. This lone little light right here actually fits in this decorative indentation in the bumper of a QX80. But here's the unknown car. This is what we hear is the only vehicle that showed up on that road before this child was reported missing. Now, there were a couple cars that left their property, including the mom's. The mom told us during the Chronicles of Olivia interview that she left her house to go search for her son and went up and down the roads of their community. But according to eyewitnesses that caught the movement on camera, state that the mom backed out of her driveway and immediately exited the community toward the school. But we have to remember, there was, according to about 7 eyewitnesses, a vehicle up at Warsham's, which was just on the other side of the school. So I don't know if that has anything to do with this or not, but definitely cause for a little bit of concern when it comes to the well-being of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, because we clearly have some weird activity on the outside of his home just hours before he was reported missing. And that's got to be a concern. It's definitely a concern for us, but it's got to be a concern for law enforcement as well. We're also noticing that there's been a change. One side of the family feels like Sebastian's case, like law enforcement isn't doing enough for Sebastian's case. And another side of the family is just okay and realizes that law enforcement has so much other, missing children to worry about and other crimes that they need to get to. It's a little off-putting how comfortable they are with law enforcement just moving on from their case, at least from my observation and my opinion. Because she knew where her kids was already. Yep. So they never called 911, only called, yes, that's correct, Melinda. They only called the non-emergency line for Sumner County, but they made that call at 6:33. And we were led to believe that they made that call immediately after they realized Sebastian was not in the home. And that wasn't true. As a matter of fact, they stayed on the phone for 20 minutes and then they decide, oh, well, let's call the father first. And they text the father, the stepfather texts the bio father, while allegedly the mom has to be sitting there on three-way because we'd heard that they never got off the phone from the time they called. And the way it works is she calls Chris, 603. Chris calls Seth at 622 and texts him at 622. And then 11 minutes after that, they decide it's time to call the non-emergency dispatch line to report Sebastian missing. Didn't seem like it was an urgency that morning to report this child missing, which I find a little bizarre. And then one of the other statements that really kind of set me off when it came to Seth's interview on his channel, on his YouTube channel, is that when he spoke to the stepfather, the first words out of the stepfather's mouth was, "Don't be mad." Didn't ask Seth, have you heard from your son? Has your son called you? Has your son, he's not here. Is it possible that he's heading to your house? None of those curious questions that almost everybody would be asking were ever asked. The statement was, "Don't be mad. Sebastian is missing." Never inquiring whether or not Seth had any contact with the boy. And I believe it's because they already knew he had not. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Melinda says, hold on, let me go back up. It kind of jumps up a little bit, so I apologize if I miss somebody's questions. You might have to put it down a couple times. I apologize. Let me guess, that's the mom's side of the family. Yes, of course it is. Of course it is. I keep going here. It says autistic nephew who would just leave. He left birthday parties. Yeah. And Lily, those elopers happen much younger in life. Somebody that's 15 years old that's never run away from home, the chances of them running away from home is very low, is a very low probability. But there are a lot of autistic elopers, and they start eloping at a very, very young age and continue that into their adulthood. This is not, Sebastian was not one of those. He was not an eloper. So he was pretty much a homebody, didn't really go anywhere, and definitely didn't ever leave home without permission. He's never been without his mom or his dad. He's always been with family or, at school. There was never really an in-between. My nephew just up and left a party. Oh, yeah. I believe that. Because some of them do. They call the non-emergency number, shaking my head. Yes, that's correct. They did something. They know he's not coming back. That's why they're getting on with their lives. That is, they're not seem to be upset. Like you have Seth, and he's out there and he is pushing very hard for attention to his son's case. He is bringing in everybody. He's stepping on law enforcement's toes because law enforcement has stepped on his toes. And moreover, I want to throw this out there. Law enforcement side-eyed Seth Rogers, okay? They side-eyed Seth Rogers, which is normal. We if they didn't, we would be a little concerned. Everybody is, so to speak, a suspect when a young boy is missing, right? So they were side-eyeing Seth Rogers as a possibility before they knew. Now, granted, Seth Rogers is the only one that has a legitimate alibi with people that have seen him. Everybody else's alibi, mom, stepdaddies, the great step-grandparents is all, oh, I'm sorry, I was sleeping. Can anybody corroborate it? No, I was sleeping alone. Okay, that's their alibi. Seth's alibi is I was at work, I was in the jail. You can see him on the jail monitors and videos of them. You can see him walking out to his car using his key card. I mean, legit alibi, right? And everybody else does not. Yet they were still side-eyeing him before that. And do you know that they never did forensics at his house? Even though they thought it was a possibility he could have some type of hand in his son's disappearance, and they never did forensics at his house either. Which leads me to believe that are forensics done at the main house, or are they not? This is critical and crucial to the investigation. So was it true the Texas Roadhouse appeared more than 2 people at the table? I'm still listen, Melinda, I try to be as honest and factual as possible. And so far, we've heard rumors that the stepfather was there. I have not found anybody to corroborate that outside of rumor. We're working on trying to corroborate the truth. But as of right now, there's no corroboration for that statement. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. But I don't mind speculating on things, but this is a huge speculation. And for me, I need to find out legitimate intel to confirm that somebody was at the table, because that could change a lot of theories depending on what was going on at that Texas Roadhouse. But it is my understanding that only the mom and Sebastian were there. I have heard the rumors, but I have not been able to corroborate anybody else was at that table. Okay? As soon as I do, I will be screaming it from the rooftops, right? One way or another. But we are working on actually finding out the truth about that statement. And not just further speculating on other people's rumors. But once we find out, I'll let you know it's for a fact. It's for real. But we haven't gotten there yet. I have heard them. I acknowledge them. But I don't have, didn't he tell Seth on the phone that the cops were at the house? Yeah, I believe so. When he called back at 7:20, they would have already been there. I think they showed up at the house by like 7:45, 7:50. But I don't know. Or 6:45, 7 o'clock, something like that. Sorry. So they would have arrived shortly before Seth called back, because he didn't call back until around 7:20 because he didn't know anything was going on. Nobody called his work. Hey, is it Chloe? Is it Chloe? Or how do you pronounce? I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sorry. Hi, I'm new here. How long has this been going? Since February 26, 2024. This is fairly new. We've been following it from the beginning. Did the neighbors say he was under those? Yes, Melinda. And, the mom and the stepfather are adamant that he's never ran off before. But that is, we heard that ourselves. A neighbor said that the child was under a car one time. And I truly believe that was one of the times that CPS was being called at the house, because something obviously happened inside that home to make the child leave and go hide under a car. Seth said the only time that this child would leave is if he's in fear for his safety. Seth was on Court TV with Dog, the bounty hunter. Yeah. I think, when were they on there? I know they were getting on there like in the, I think it was in the last day or two. Didn't at one time Seth left him home while at work? Yeah, so does his mom. Yeah, he didn't run then. No. And he's been left at his dad's house as well as his mom's house after school. And no, obviously he's 15 years old. He's a high functioning autistic boy. And he's able to care for himself. He doesn't have problems with, he doesn't need somebody helping him with his daily, care, his daily routines. So he's able to care for himself in part. I mean, he's still young. He's still, 15-year-old boy. He still has a younger intellect. But for the most part, he can, he takes care of himself, minds his own business, plays with his video games. He's a homebody. He doesn't really, wander off. So they don't really have a concern. He's allegedly goes into his room and plays, or goes, when he's at his dad's, plays on the PlayStation 4 video games. and chills. So, if you don't have an eloper and you're not concerned with the child running away, you have a little more, you're not having to keep them under supervision as much as you would somebody that does elope. Can anyone possibly spare enough for homeless proof of age in I'm just hungry? Sorry. I put it out there if somebody would love to help you. More, obviously. Yes, you said it right. The cops have to be suspecting mom and stepdad. I mean, you would think so, but we've also watched their behavior in dealing with this case. I mean, we all have our opinions, but Sumner County is being very heavy-handed with, preventing people's free thought and free opinions and freedom of speech, quite frankly, and freedom of press. So we've got a lot of constitutional issues with this county right now. For us, as well as, like Seth. They're not really happy with Seth for bringing Dog the Bounty Hunter in. Well, you know what? If you guys would accept help and quit being so pompous and arrogant, we might be able to move this. I don't deal with arrogance in any other place but Tennessee. Not at this level. Tennessee have a lot of people that have pissing contests in law enforcement, and that's no good for anybody that's missing or deceased, okay? Because they don't want help from anyone. They think they've got it all by themselves. Meanwhile, 9 months go by and we find out it's a possibility there's no forensics done. And if that's the case, well, we can say Sumner County pissed all over this case, okay? We can say Sumner County didn't do their job correctly. That's what we can say, if those statements are true. As of March 20th, the stepfathers on Smiley's World basically stating that there was no forensics. That Smiley World interview was March 20th. That was some 30 days after this case. I mean, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children specifically state to turn the home as well as this child's room into a crime scene. This is the protocol for runaways. Okay? This is not for abduction. This is for runaway children. This is their directive for runaway children. And it's to turn the house and their room into a crime scene. This child had 2 rooms. Neither one was turned into a crime scene. As a matter of fact, Seth actually speaks about how he was able to walk right into the house and right into his son's room. The whole entire home was contaminated, much like John Benet Ramsey. You would think that we, as a society and law enforcement as a whole, would have learned from cases years ago and prevent. I mean, because of the John Benet Ramsey case, there were so many procedures and policies put in law enforcement to make sure that they don't contaminate a crime scene when there's a child missing. And here we've got law enforcement and just random people being able to walk into the house, all through the yard, into the child's bedroom, and not one person stopped them. That's why I call this a Barney Fife investigation. And John Benet is still unsolved. Thanks, V. That is absolutely right. So, law enforcement in Tennessee. Now, I have been harping on Tennessee for 3 years. I love the state. I think the state's a beautiful state. But I also think it's a very dangerous state for children, especially children that have unstable parents. Because all they have to do is hide the child well enough, and they will never be held accountable in that state, ever. Because they don't have DAs that are well known for prosecuting circumstantial cases, and they're scared. They have no balls and they have no backbone. That's the problem. That's the problem from where I sit. And until law enforcement gets some balls and gets some backbone and gets some decent DAs that can actually take circumstantial cases, we're going to be on this rat race for a very long time and on this wheel just spinning ourselves it's just insane. It's insanity. But I feel like a rat on a wheel. Because we've been talking about the same stuff every single year since Summer Wells about the state of Tennessee. And it seems like every time, nothing ever gets done in the state. The children are at risk, and law enforcement is broke. That's the problem. They don't have the financial capacity to handle a case like this, a massive investigation. This child is down to one lone person and they want everybody just to shoo. They got this. Nothing to see over here. Let's shovel it under the rug because, let's face it, the developers own our counties. And it just so happens that this family that lost this child is associated with major developers in the area called second generation construction. And it just seems so funny that they have all this magical pool in that county that nobody else seems to possess but this family. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, guys, there's your update on this case from my purview here on TikTok. I hope you guys have a great day. Please advocate for Sebastian Rogers. Go over to Seth's channel. Watch that interview. It's a really good interview. I think it really enlightens and helps us understand what was going on that morning when Sebastian Rogers disappeared. I think everybody needs to, yes, I will be. I'll be on YouTube pretty much all day. This is like the first, since it's so early, I decided to come here and tell you guys, hello. It's Seth Rogers. I don't know if I can post it in here. Go over to my YouTube channel, Bullhorn Betty. Give me about 10 minutes and then go over to my, my community tab on my YouTube channel. And I will post his channel on there and you guys can sub up. But give me about 10 minutes. I got to find it. Then I've got to, copy and paste it, then do the community tab. But if you guys give me about 10 minutes, you will be able to have access. I'm at Bullhorn Betty on YouTube. I'm Bullhorn Betty here on TikTok. I'm Bullhorn Betty just about everywhere you turn, okay? So go over to YouTube, hit my community tab, and you'll be able to get that interview of Seth on his channel. I think everybody needs to hear it. I really do. If you've been invested in this case and you want to know what's going on, that he opened up a lot about a lot. So you're going to want, and it sounds like there's going to be more to come. It doesn't sound like this is the last of it. So and he dropped some bombshells in this last one. Like, I can't wait as we're progressing what new information we're learning. I'm immersed in this case, and there was some things that I didn't even know. So get over there, check it out. Give me just a few minutes. What about Leela? Leela Santanello she disappeared at 20 years old, and shortly after her disappearance, she turned 21, and now she's obviously 22. She hasn't been seen. I was out there, believe it or not. I was just there with Jennifer a few days ago. When I was in Tennessee, she was having a bad day. She was getting really scared and nervous. She had the psychic there. She had the dog handler, and then she had somebody that was mapping and doing some aerial drone searches. And of course, these type of cases never go without a hitch, right? You always have problems in anything you do. It's one of the things that's crazy for me when I'm on the road. I have a lot of, just running of the mill problems. But one thing I learned, and I got to be careful what I say, but it sounds like her case is making some progress. I do realize that the Detective Claire, wasn't too pleased with some of the things, and it happens, sometimes you accidentally, unintentionally step on your detective's toes, right? And so he's trying to contain as much information as possible about what happened to Leela Santanello. But what I can tell you without divulging too much is it sounds like they are on the right track. It sounds like if I knew anything about Leela Santanello at the time she disappeared, I would be very concerned. Now, if anybody's watching that knows anything about Leela Santanello, that was there when Leela Santanello disappeared, I'm just going to say this. I would call and reach out to law enforcement and make a deal. Because I'm telling you, it sounds like they have a lot of information, and if you are knowledgeable about what happened or you were there, you might want to make a deal, because we all know it probably wasn't these little jitterbugs, right? So these jitterbugs need to be reaching out and covering their own butt. And I would do it sooner than later, because it sounds like they've got a lot more than we know. And it sounds like they are going to be, they're making progress. And that's what we need in the case. They're making progress. They're making significant progress. I will tell you, I am one of the first people that will have no problem, I support law enforcement, but I know that they make mistakes. And one thing I can't stand more than anything in the world is somebody lying to my face, okay? Even law enforcement. I don't like it. It's a good way for us not to be buddy, okay? Don't lie. I know there's points in investigations where law enforcement have no choice but to lie to throw the assailant off and stuff like that, and I put that into the situation. But flat out lying to the public to get them off your back, I think is dishonorable. I have no respect for that kind of nonsense, and I've seen it from law enforcement over the years. I've never had a problem with Detective Claire in Leela Santanello's case. I truly believe that detective cares about this case, and he's been working diligently. You've never seen, it's so funny that you guys see me kick up a storm in some cases and not kick up a storm in other cases. And the reason for that is because law enforcement is doing their damn job, okay? You don't see me. I come in when there's injustice. I come in there when we need searching, and I do what I do when I see injustice. You don't see me kicking up a storm. You don't see me running people over with buses, proverbial buses, in the Leela Santanello case. Why? Because they were doing their job. Okay? It's the only time law enforcement gets a big bullhorn Betty boil on their butt is when they're not doing their job properly. And not only that, they're not doing their job properly, and then they want to condemn people that are giving them constructive criticism. Okay? Sumner County dropped the ball. And I'm very thankful for Leela Santanello to have Kingsport Police and Detective Cleary, or Detective Claire, working her case, because he's been working hand in hand with her. He's been making sure she feels comfortable. And, one of the things is you got to be careful, what you say. We don't want to tip our hand or tip our hat. I'm just simply saying, people, and I've said this from the beginning, somebody knows what happened to this child. Many people know what happened to this child. And this case still has gone unsolved, but she is still being searched. Information and leads are still coming in, and law enforcement has done a massive search in a specific area recently. So that's all the good stuff we like to see. But when you look at the Sebastian Rogers case, you get no searches. They're not doing squat in that case. They're not looking at areas. It's like they've dwindled this down to one detective. They want to shovel it under the rug and act like this child didn't exist. It's just a pain in the butt for them. And I think that is so wrong. So much so that Seth had to go above Sumner County's head and work with the FBI to get the $50,000 because Sumner County didn't even want a reward. Didn't even want a reward. Thank you, the FBI. And moreover, thank you, Dog the Bounty Hunter and Nick the Hat, because not only did they match that reward, they've exceeded that reward. The reward right now for any information leading to the safe return of Sebastian Rogers or the successful prosecution of those involved is now up to $200,000. If you have any information about Sebastian, come forward. $200,000, even the richest person, is still life-changing money. It's still life-changing money. And geez, if you live even under that, it's like life-changing money. I truly believe there are some teenagers out there that have information about this child. Overheard it from conversations with family or friends. I believe that there are some teenagers that are getting ready to go to college that have some information about this child. And $200,000, young kids, can pay for your college education and give you a nice ride to go to college in. So you better be you better be thinking about that. You better be thinking about that. Because mommy and daddy may not be sending you to college, right? Here's your opportunity, especially if you know something, especially if you heard something, especially if you heard something from mommy and daddy over the phone. Just saying. Something not right? People acting a little strange? Call it in. Call it in. All right, guys, you take care. God bless. Rock it out with your coffee beans out. Have a great Manic Monday, and I hope you guys learned a little nugget of information about the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case, because there are emerging new details that are coming out with the help and the thanks of his father, Seth Rogers. Seth Rogers has truly been the one that has kept this story alive, that has pushed people like me to do better, people like me to keep his son front and center, and with the help of a national recognizable person like Dog the Bounty Hunter, which is world renowned. He's found over 10,000 fugitives. This is a huge resource to have. It might step on law enforcement's toes, but hey, you know what? This is what happens when you step on a father's toes that's searching for his damn son and want to be so disrespectful to him. Fine. You give us a problem, we go over it, under it, or around it. And that's where Dog the Bounty Hunter comes in. God bless you guys. Take care. Rock it out with your coffee beans out.